most of the UPSC aspirants, they try to prepare about concepts in a decent way. They almost prepare well. But when it comes to converting such conceptual clarity into writing wonderful answers, they always feel that something is missing. Well, how to write answers, how to write geographical answers, especially in your general studies. I'm here to help, and this is the motto of this series. Hello everyone, welcome to this series of geography PYQs, where I will be discussing about the geography mains questions asked. And in this video, I will be talking about 2025 questions, and I'll try to give you a structure of what methods you can use for introductions, body, conclusions, case studies, diagrams, and all. And in this process, it will help you to enrich your preparation very, very well. Right? On that note, let us start with respect to a question which was asked last year in 2025 mains. What are tsunamis? How? And where are they formed? What are their consequences? Explain with examples. See, PYQs are meant for not just to say simply saying that you would be preparing for that as writing answers, but I would expect you to beyond that. First thing, check the syllabus. Okay, there is a point called as geophysical phenomena where in the mains UPSC is clearly asking. That is the fundamental point. And the number of questions usually more than the salient features of physical geography, which include geomorphology, climatology, oceanography. Within that, UPSC has said there is a separate segment within these aspects only. Important geophysical phenomena like earthquakes, like volcanoes, like tornadoes, cyclones, right? Tsunamis. And they are asking such questions regularly every year. So that should be the first observation for you. Geophysical phenomena important as it was mentioned in the syllabus. That should be a higher priority to you guys. Remember that. Then, now you see. Once you see that, how to write introductions, how to write body, how to write conclusions. You have to prepare well in the exam so that you will be able to write within 10 minutes. So, what should be the introduction, what should be the body, what should be the conclusion, what are the types of introduction, types of body, types of conclusion, everything you should be able to master it, and you should be knowing different types to introduce where, right? For example, this is what I call it as, before we start the discussion, this is what I call it as the brainstorming techniques. These brainstorming techniques are very, very important for you to prepare, for you to write, so that it will be useful for you in terms of your preparation. Okay, there is no compromise in such kind of aspects. Now, brainstorming, it involves, means what? See, don't wait for the answer to be seen, to be read somewhere, or as you are listening. If you are watching this video, I would say that pause it for a second and you think on your own preparation. What should be introduction for this? What are the points you would be writing? What conclusions? You think. This thinking aspect is what I will call it as brainstorming. And this you have to develop over a period of time. So, I hope you all have paused the video, you have watched this point, you have thought about multiple points, and now you can see the answer, and now you can see whether you have matched it, whether sometimes you could write a much better point, fair enough, and at the same time you can add some, you can get some value out of this video as well, right? So let's start with the introduction. For example, what should be the introduction for this question? Intro. Straight away you can call about what is a tsunami. Define. See, there are always straightforward questions asked in geography exam. Out of 8 questions to 10 questions which UPSC asks in the mains, there will be 2 to 3 questions where you will find it very, very straightforward. For some of the straightforward questions, you can start with the definitions only. Tsunami, You can talk about the definition. Large ocean waves generated by displacement of oceanic water. What is tsunami? Large oceanic waves generated by sudden displacement of oceanic water. That sudden displacement is the trigger. Displacement of the oceanic water. One thing, sometimes what happens is when you are preparing, there is a preparation which you have done and you tend to write whatever you are aware about that. My dear, you have to write what is being asked rather than what you are aware of. Remember those subtle points. So what are tsunamis? Straight away, only talk about that. Okay, maybe in brackets, if you wanted to say tsunami is called as a harbor wave, you can just put it as the harbor wave, as in brackets. That's it. Some subtle point of hint. That's it. Remember one thing, you don't have that elaborate time in the exam where you say that tsunami means harbor wave as it was called in Japan. There is no such kind of time for you, right? You can mention it as the Japanese word harbor wave within small brackets. So one of the aspect you should be aware is precision. Precise writing is very important, right? So remember that. So that way, as you introduce, straight away you talk about how are they vulnerable. You can talk about a connecting para sometimes if you have time. Okay, a connecting para. Talk about tsunamis move at around 500 to 600 kilometers per hour and they increase dramatically. They can travel at the speeds of 500 to 600 kilometers per hour and they increase their height significantly as they reach the coastal regions. Increase their height as they reach coastal regions because by then it will become shallower. Here you see by the time as they move in the open seas, they are quite not that height enough. You will not have much height, but as they come towards the coastal areas, they will find that the height dramatically increases because of the shallowness of the coastal areas, right? In the deep sea, you will not find much of an impact. That is one of the aspects you tend to see about the tsunamis. So you can talk about a connecting pair. Then straight away here, body. In the body, they are only asking how and where are they formed. You talk about that, you can club both together and you can write. So how are they formed? What is their trigger for displacement of water? See, trigger for displacement of water. The primary major aspect of why do tsunamis occur is about earthquakes caused by plate movement. The primary things is earthquakes under the sea, primary caused by plate movements. So simple, there was plates which are moving under the sea. The plates sometimes subduct below. As they are subducting and the earthquake is released, the water would be displaced. As the water displaces, that will cause the impact. See, what is the tsunami? Large scale displacement of the water. The displacement is water caused by undersea earthquakes. You can talk about that. Okay, so you can see such kind of undersea earthquakes are more prominent in the Pacific Ring of Fire. You can talk about these examples. Pacific Ring of Fire across this region. You can draw a diagram of the Pacific Ring of Fire, show them, identify the regions of Japan, very prominent in terms of the earthquakes. So you can talk about the Japan trench here. You can talk about the Indonesian stretch, another important region. You can talk about the Chile-Peru region, one such stretch where you will find very, very huge amount of earthquakes and all, which is leading to the aspect. So the Pacific Ring of Fire is a major area of such kind of tsunamis. How are they formed? So undersea volcano. Another aspect, volcanoes. Volcanoes can also trigger the tsunamis. For example, the Krakatoa volcano in Indonesia. See, as the volcano provides huge amounts of lava and all, and that might lead to some disruptions on the seabed, that might trigger also sometimes tsunami. So volcanoes can also erupt, can lead to displacement of large volumes of water. Krakatoa volcano in 2018 has led to a tsunami in Indonesia. So you can talk about such examples, right? See, while you are writing answers, you can draw the diagram, you can give these examples simultaneously, right? Sometimes another method is there. You see, imagine you are writing your answers in this way. Okay, as you are writing in paragraphs and all. Maybe here you draw a diagram, Pacific Ring of Fire. You keep on writing here. You can use such places, right? Drawing diagrams by closing the space. You can also sometimes use it for case studies. For example, 2004 tsunami, Sumatra, 2004 tsunami at Sumatra, Indonesia, how it has caused havoc for South Asia and Southeast Asia, causing for more than 2,30,000 loss of lives. 2,30,000 loss of lives. So that you can talk about that. See, that is the consequence. You can mention that in the consequences. So when you talk about these aspects, see, primarily earthquakes are major things, volcanoes are major things. You can mention the other aspects where it can lead to volcano, it can lead to tsunamis. Say maybe you can talk about landslides in the seawater, underwater landslides. For example, on the seabed, there might some kinds of landslides might occur. Sometimes you can talk about the meteorite attack, meteorite impact. Okay, all these can be a cause of a tsunami, right? Sometimes nuclear testing can also be a thing, but they are not the primary ones. So primarily they are natural ones. So these are the natural factors. Mention all the points. Give more importance to earthquakes, but you do mention other kinds of triggers which can lead to tsunami. Then once you talk about all these aspects, once you talk about this, then consequences. Now, while you give consequences, divide them into economic, divide them into environmental, right? So that it will be easier. Economic, you talk about human aspects. Here we have already discussed human aspects, loss of life. You talk about huge destruction to the ports, harbor. That's why it's called as harbor wave, because causing destruction to the ports, right? You talk about the economic losses to the cities. Now you mention majority of the cities with all their infrastructures of energy, road, rail and all are located close to the coastline, and all these are quite vulnerable in the modern era. You can also connect with respect to globalization, right? So you can mention that. So you do mention all these points. Then you can talk about what do you say? What are the economic activities which are impacted, like ports? You can talk about fishing. You can talk about what do you say? Another point which I have given an example. I think most of the students of my classes, they might be aware. I did discuss about 2011 Fukushima nuclear disaster. So along the coastline, because of a tsunami, the nuclear disaster, a nuclear system which is there in Japan, it has been negatively impacted, and that has led to some radiation impacts. That is what we call it as 2011 Fukushima nuclear disaster, and this has led to reduction in the level in the nuclear impact and rise of the other kinds of energy sources, especially the renewable energy. Renewable energy has picked up pace because all the resources and everything were spent by the people of the world, the governments, especially the society, the business people, and all on solar energy after the 2011 Fukushima nuclear disaster. You can mention about all these kind of aspects. You can also mention about how do salt water contamination might happen. You can also mention about how does it impact the mangroves, how does it impact the coral reefs, all the coastal ecosystems, how do they impacted? You can mention one lines. See, in the process, we are giving examples with respect to the Fukushima. We have discussed about the Sumatra loss of life. We have discussed about the Krakatoa. So, like that, in the process of the writing answers, using this tabular format, using these unique methods of presentations, you can give wonderful examples as well. You can use it as a diagram. My dear, always, as you write answers, there has to be something as a differential factor for you to utilize that in writing answers. What is the strength of you? Proper analysis, examples, case studies, intro conclusions. What is your strength? Show it in your answers. Mains are the perfect point of writing answers in a way that you are showing your personality in it. I would call it as mains is an extension of personality test. The half an hour of random interview, which it might go here and there, is more, rather than that, mains is more important, which can give you an edge, right? So take it very, very seriously, right? So this is the aspect. Then conclusions. How to write conclusions? Summaries are one method. As we have started with the definition, you talk about what you say, right? You can talk about how do tsunamis. You can talk. You can call for solutions, or you can call for what should be the approach considering their consequences. Considering their vast economic and environmental consequences, it is always prudent to protect the coastal ecosystems of mangroves, which will be the first line of defense, and to have early warning systems so that we are somewhat resilient to the nature induced disasters. You can talk about a solution oriented approach. Okay, you can talk about calling for mangroves, which will act as a first line of defense. You can call it for early warning systems, which will help you in terms of protection. That is how you can connect, right? So this is about the tsunami. Hope you all have understood this, right? Okay.